Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of all the board games launching on Kickstarter and GameFound over the next week. And if you're new to the channel, we do this every week going over all the upcoming campaigns, so if you want to stay up to date, this is the place to be. But before I get started, I do just want to mention that I am filming this a little bit earlier than usual. It's Wednesday today and I normally film these on Fridays. And those 2 days actually can make quite a bit of difference. So if you want to get a comprehensive list of the games launching this week, I do have a link to both our Discord as well as my Reddit profile that you can check for my posts that I put up every Sunday. And I will be listing all the games that I find between now and then. So if you just want to see a list of the games, you can check those out as well after you watch this video. But I do normally start these videos by going over some new announcements and discoveries that I just found out about over the past week. And there is one thing that I actually found out a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to mention it. But since we do have the Mordred game on Kickstarter now that has an Arthurian theme and it is an area control game, I thought it was worth mentioning that there was an announcement from Boardgames where they are announcing their next game that's going to be coming in early 2024. And this one is also an area control game that shares an Arthurian theme. So if you're interested in those types of games, and if you're interested by the one that CMON is offering now, I just want to let you know that this one is also coming in the future. Although I don't think these games can be really compared other than their theme, because I imagine that they're going to be playing quite a bit differently from each other. And if you're not familiar with Boardgames, they created the Oathsworn Into the Deepwood game, which was kind of a boss battler narrative campaign. And this one has been getting a lot of love. It's one that I backed, but I just haven't had time to play yet, which I'm hoping is going to change because I just bought a house and I'm going to be moving into it very soon. And I'm super excited to finally get my board game table set up where I can dedicate more time to playing games like these. And if you are wondering why I'm filming this 2 days earlier than normal, it's because I'm hopping on a plane first thing tomorrow morning, flying over to New York, and then taking a train to Connecticut because I am going to be attending the Level Up event. And if you're going, I really hope to see you there. Feel free to say hello if you run into me or reach out to me and I can try and meet up as well. Definitely excited to play some games, meet a ton of cool people, and just hang out with all the people I do already know as well. Conventions like these are always a ton of fun. There's going to be a ton of opportunities to play and discover new games, as well as try out those games that you've always wanted to try, or even just play a few of your favorites. There'll be a lot of organized events going on, and there'll also be opportunities to meet people from the community or content creators, and maybe just some friends that you might have interacted with online, but you never had the opportunity to actually meet up with. But speaking of cool people, our host for the event is actually going to be Alex from Board Game Co., who I'm sure you are aware of. He does great work. He has his own channel. You can check it out. I have it linked in the description below. And he also posts a ton of useful videos, whether it's going into the value proposition of different games or giving you different reviews or previews, or letting you know of games to come as well, just like the videos that I offer you here today. And I don't know if it's just a slow week or if all the games are going to be announced tomorrow after I've already filmed this video, but there are not a lot of games that I have to cover this time around. And usually when I only have a few games to cover like this, it's difficult for me to make my pick of the week because there's just such a small pool to choose from, and I don't want to be insincere in my pick. And when there's not a lot of options, there's usually not too many that really spark me as being chosen for a pick of the week. But this week was also difficult for me to choose my pick of the week, but not because there's so few games, but because all the games I do have to mention today all look fantastic. They all really impress me in their own unique ways. And I'll just go through each of them and let you know why I think they're so great. But don't worry, I'll still pick one of them for my pick of the week, so let's check them out. And the first campaign we have launches on July 17th, and this one's called Avant Carde. And this plays 1 to 5 players. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And this one is a really neat deck builder where players are trying to build up their collection of cards in order to create the best displays and earn victory points in doing so. But the way this game works is that each player is going to be starting with a deck of 10 so-so cards. Every round, players are going to be drawing 7 cards from their draw deck, and then you'll be able to play any of those cards so long as the next card you play matches either the color or the number of the card that you played before it. Your goal here is to try to get as many cards out on the table as possible, because each card you play is going to earn you $1, which you'll be able to use to purchase more cards for the future rounds. But something to note here is that each of the cards can also have some special effects and abilities, and those can also be used in various ways to either do things like get you more coins, allow you to burn cards, or draw more cards, or even make a card behave like a different color or a different number altogether. And although you're going to be earning coins and then buying cards throughout the game, that's not actually how you earn victory points in this game. Instead, you're going to be earning victory points anytime that you successfully chain 6 cards together. That's going to earn you 1 victory point, and then any card that you're able to play after that's going to earn you additional victory points. Players will gain their coins at the end of this phase once they've played and activated all their cards, and then each of the players will be able to spend their coins to buy from the market that's located on this row here in the center of the table. And you'll be able to purchase any of the cards that you see here, revealing the card below it, which could be of a different color. And a nice little perk with this game is that it's really easy to set up the market because it's actually going to be using this box that you'll just be able to unroll in order to reveal the market with all the cards separated as they are intended. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of different effects and abilities that each of these cards can offer, and they all fall into one of 2 categories. There are the green effects, which will be activated as soon as you play the card, and then there are the yellow effects that get activated when you go into the purchasing phase. And something that I think works really well in this game is that the cost of the card is equal to the value that you see on the card, and the higher value cards generally have a more strong special ability, which means that players are going to have to decide between buying those high value cards which have the stronger special abilities but are harder to get, meaning that they will be harder to match with other numbers, or maybe investing more into the lesser abilities but then getting more of those in your deck, allowing them to chain together easier and also allowing you to potentially perform multiple effects within a single turn. The game ends once all these victory point cards run out, and then the player with the most victory points wins the game. And I think this game is going to offer you a whole bunch of different ways to strategize and try to be the player that comes out on top. And for just 20 bucks, I think this one is offering a ton of value because it does look like quite a fun game. And if you are interested in this one, you can check it out, and I have links in the description below. And the next campaign we have is also launching on the 17th, but this one is a little bit different because rather than being a board game, this one's a little bit more about designing board games. Although it is also going to offer you a board game as part of this course as well that you'll be able to learn from and just play anytime you want because it is just a self-contained board game. But this one did launch previously, so I did already cover it, but it got rescheduled until now, so I'll just go ahead and roll that previous footage for you now. This one's being run by Gabe Brett, who also runs one of the biggest board game design Facebook groups, and he also has designed a few games himself, and he's also put out a ton of content and books already covering board game design as well as manufacturing and delivery so that you can get your games out to the public. And this campaign is offering a bundle of everything that you need to get started in that ecosystem. So this is going to be offering you a book as well as an online course, but it's also going to be providing you a game as well that will give you some examples of the different concepts that he's applying. And like I said, he has published a few games already and he's been working in this space for quite a long time, so I do think he has a ton of very useful information. So if you are interested in designing a game or if you have some ideas that you want to work on, this is a great resource to start turning those ideas into action and starting to learn more about how to playtest and how to actually get a final product. And if so, I would love to cover your game in an upcoming video. So if you are interested in this one, definitely check it out, and there are links in the description below. And launching on the 18th, we have License to Grill, and this one is my own personal pick of the week. I just really like all the different mechanisms that work in this game and the way that they're all tied together. I think it looks really easy to learn and play, and I think the theme for this one is just so spot on because it does involve polyominoes when putting the food items onto the grill. And for all you barbecue lovers out there, you know exactly how much it feels like you're putting all those Tetris skills to use anytime you're trying to cram all that food onto a barbecue. But the way that this game works is that players are going to be taking turns as the active player, and on your turn you'll be able to take 2 actions. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do, but the general flow of this game is that you're going to be drafting cards from one of 2 displays. One's going to be your meat deck and one's going to be your veggie deck. You'll be able to choose which of those cards that you want to draft based on their characteristics, and then you can either move them into your prepare area or you can move them straight onto the grill. One thing to note here is that the grill is separated into the meat section and the veggie section because of course you don't want those pesky vegetables contaminating your meat. This means that you do have to keep the different types of food to the respective areas of the grill, but there are also some items that come in a vessel, let's say like baked beans, and those can be placed anywhere on the grill, even crossing between both of the sections at the same time. But of course, no one wants to bring shame to their barbecue cooking skills, so you don't want to overcook the food. This means that you will also have an action to move it over to your rest area, and depending on the type of food that you have, you might want it resting longer than others. And this is where I think all the magic comes together in this game, because each of the cards that you're going to be gaining are going to have 3 different stats associated with them. There is the prep stat that's going to be going up anytime that you season some food that is in your prep area. And then there is the cooking stat that's going to be going up the longer it's on the grill. And the interesting thing about this is the rate that that goes up is going to correlate to whichever temperature you have the grill set to. And this is a shared grill, so any player that changes the temperature of the grill is actually going to be affecting all the players' food that's out on that grill at that time. And of course, there's going to be a stat for the rest phase as well. And the interesting thing about all these stats is that you don't just want to max out all of them as much as possible, because depending on where you end up in each of those stats, you're going to get the amount of victory points depicted at that point in the track. And these are not necessarily linearly going up or down. They can vary depending on where you are in the track. So it's all about timing each of these 3 stats and trying to maximize each of these in order to get the most amount of points as possible for a single item. And it's not the easiest thing to see in this one picture of the game that I have, but there are actually 2 different temperature dials available on the grill. One is going to be controlling the side for your meat, and one is going to be controlling the side for your vegetables, so you can actually have both of those regions at a different temperature. And players can also move their food from the main grill onto the warming rack, which will experience a lower grill temperature, giving you a little bit more security if you're trying to get it just right. Once again, the different actions that you'll have available to you are to draft one of the food cards and then take the associated polyomino. And then for free, you'll be able to choose whether you want to put that into your prep area or put it straight onto the grill. One thing to note here is that if you can't find space for it on either of those spots, then you can't do that action. But you can also use an action to season any of the food that you have in your prep area, or you can move a tile from the prep area onto the barbecue, or you could take a tile off the barbecue onto your rest area or serve that food from your rest area. And one thing to note here is that there are a couple free actions as well, because anytime you put food onto the grill, you're allowed to raise or lower the temperature of that grill by 1 notch. And then also you can rearrange your prep board any way that you see fit as you get more food put into it in order to try and make room for any of the other food items that you might want to put on there. Players will be gaining victory points based on the different stats of the different food items that they're able to serve, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game. And of course, if you are interested in this one, you can check it out. I have links in the description below. And the next campaign we have also launches on the 18th, and this one's called Space Alone, and this plays 1 to 4 players. It takes about 20 to 40 minutes to play. And I don't have a whole ton of info on the way that this one plays, but I'll do my best with the info that I have. But this one is a roll and write where players are going to be competing to be the first to complete a specific scenario. There's all sorts of different scenarios offered in this game. There might be an objective to contact a space station, or to repair your ship, or even to carry out a dangerous exploration. Each turn, the active player is going to be rolling 4 dice and then performing actions by using the dice from that pool. You're going to be trying to do different things like manage your oxygen levels, manage your radiation protection, or even your energy generation. You're going to be using your energy to activate different tools and different items that you'll be able to acquire or build throughout the game. And you'll also be able to visit your ship that's located at a different location in order to try and repair it, develop it to gain different abilities, or to generate resources, or even complete some scenario-specific actions. The players will be able to go out and explore the planet, and as you're doing that, you're going to be wanting to avoid the different dangers that are going to be present there. This includes some different space monsters or even the other players. The end of the game is triggered either when all the players die or when a player is able to complete the objective. The player that does that wins the game, and if you are interested in this one, you can learn more and check it out in the description below. Also launching on the 18th, we have War of the Three Sanchos, and this plays 1 to 3 players and takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And this is another one that was really fighting for the position of pick of the week, because this one really did impress me, and I wasn't expecting that at first because of the name of the game. I thought it was going to be more of a war style type game, which I'm not usually super interested in for my own personal tastes. But I would say that despite its name, this one is not really a war game, it's more of an area control game. Because in this game, players are trying to be the first to earn 10 points by controlling different regions on the map. Something that's interesting here is that you're trying to control the different castles at each of the individual regions. Whenever you do that, you're going to be gaining the points associated with that region, which are labeled on the regions. And when you gain points, you're just going to be moving up on the track. But something that is important to note here is that if you ever lose possession of that castle, you actually lose those victory points and you're going to be going back down on the track. So there is a bit of a tug and war going on here. but each of the players do start the game with one of their troops on the board, and each player is also going to start the game with 3 cards dealt to them. And these cards are super important because they are the main mechanism that drives the game forward, and on a player's turn they're going to be choosing one of the 3 cards from their hand and either playing it or choosing to reserve it. Whenever you reserve a card, you're just going to be putting it face down in front of you, and you can normally only have 1 card reserved at a time, but there are some ways to break that rule, but I will come back to what exactly that does in a moment. So when a player decides to play a card, they're going to be gaining the amount of action points listed at the top of that card, and then each of the other players has to perform the actions that are outlined within their color on that card, but you will be ignoring any of the actions associated with the color of the active player. And one extra added advantage about being the active player is that you also get to decide the player order for that turn. So you can choose whether you want to go first, second, or third, and where exactly you want the other players in relation to that. But of course, there's all sorts of actions that players can perform. They can recruit more troops into their supply or deploy some of the troops from their supply onto the different areas of the board. They can also attack and fortify different regions on the board. And one thing that I think is really elegant about this game is that just being in a region doesn't give you control of that region. You first have to fortify it by controlling the castle that is in that region. And whenever you do that, you're going to be stacking a number of tokens onto this circle here within the region, indicating that you currently have control over it, and fortifying it more just means that you are stacking more tokens on top of that castle icon. And I think the recruit, deploy, and move actions are all pretty self-explanatory here, so I'm not going to go into too much detail onto those, but I do want to explain both the attack action and also a special action known as the besiege action. And these are very different, but they are both very important ways for you to gain control in the different regions on the board. Attack actions can happen between any 2 colors of tokens located on the same region, as long as those tokens are not part of the fortified tokens that you have stacked on top of the castle in that region. And although it doesn't include those tokens by default, the person that does have the tokens there can choose to remove those tokens from the fortification and put them into the region to add more defense into that area. Combat in this game is resolved using dice rolling, but the way that you get more dice into your pool is by having more tokens in that region, or by spending more of your action points on that attack action, because if you are the main player and you're spending your action points in order to perform an attack, you can only perform 1 attack on your turn, but you can dedicate as many of your available action points to that attack, with each action point allowing you to add 1 more die into your roll. And although attacking and destroying other players is super important and also a lot of fun, like I said, it's not the way that you're actually going to be gaining victory points. In order to gain victory points in this game, you have to control that region, which means that if the opponent has a stack of tokens on that region already, you're going to have to try and take power over that castle, not by attacking it, but by besieging it. And this actually works quite a bit different from an attack, because all you're trying to do is get as many of your tokens into that region as possible. And then once you have more tokens than the tokens that are on top of the castle in that region, you can then perform the besiege action in order to put your tokens on top of the player's tokens that already owns the castle. And if you're like me, you're probably expecting that the tokens there would have been removed, but that is not the case. And I think this is a really ingenious design decision, because the way that this works is that at the end of every turn, 1 of those tokens from each player is going to be removed. And I think this is a really ingenious design decision that really rounds out the game, because my initial concern with this game was that the points would just be traded back and forth, and there'd be a high chance of a stalemate as you play this game. But because you can continue to maintain those points even after you've been besieged for a period of time, depending on how many tokens you put there, that really prevents the case of points just being traded back and forth. And it's not only about getting the points, but trying to make sure that you can secure them as long as possible, just long enough to get you those 10 points, which will trigger the end of the game and you as the winner. So that pretty much explains everything when it comes to playing a card, but let's jump back to reserving a card and what exactly that does, because when you do reserve a card and put it down, face down in front of you, when you do get into a battle, you can flip that reserved card over, and then all you care about is the associated action points. Whatever that number is, you're going to be adding that amount to your power on your side of the battle, which means that you get to roll that many more additional dice. This is a really nice ace up your sleeve if you really want to secure a battle and just tip the favor towards you. But whether a player chooses to play a card or reserve a card on their turn, they will be drawing one more card into their hand so that all players always have 3 cards at the end of their turns. And the game ends either once a player reaches 10 victory points or once that deck of cards completely runs out, and then the player with the most victory points at that point wins the game. And if this one sounds interesting to you, you can check it out. I have it linked in the description below. That's all the campaigns I have for you this week. Like I said, I am filming this earlier, so it is possible and very likely that a few more games may get announced on Thursday or Friday. So follow up on my Discord or my Reddit posts that I'll have linked in the description below if you want to see the entire list with any new games added. But it's also at this point in the video where I normally announce some sort of giveaway for a pledge on Kickstarter or GameFound. But this is actually one of those rare times where I've actually run out of giveaways. There are a few on my list, but the campaigns either haven't funded or they are submitted too late, so I didn't actually cover them, and I feel bad doing a giveaway for a campaign that I didn't cover. But really the main problem here is that I've been covering all these campaigns and not really letting the publishers know, so I've been really falling behind on just reaching out to publishers and asking them for more information and giving them the opportunity to do giveaways. And there's a ton of different reasons for why I haven't had as much time lately. It's not that I don't want to devote the time, and they're all exciting things, so it's nothing really bad here. They're just all zapping my time that I should be spending towards sending out reach outs to all these different publishers. But those things are all on the verge of getting wrapped up, so I will have more time here and I will be reaching out to more publishers, which means that there will be a lot more giveaways on the channel in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and draw the winners from last week's giveaway, which was for a copy of Mindbug Beyond. And this is a fantastic game. It's one of my favorite card battlers, and if you are interested in this one, you can check out the late pledge, which is available on GameFound now. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And because this game is essentially just a single deck of cards, it is also very affordable if you're looking to just get the base set, and you can get that either on this campaign or from your local retailer in the future. But this is a campaign, and like any good campaign, there's also the option to just bling it out and spend as much or little as you are interested. And this was also a game that I featured in my top 10 games when on the go video, so if you did also comment on that video, that's going to get you additional entries into this giveaway. And use this fancy application to draw a winner, and it's going to be drawing comments both from last week's video and that top 10 video that I just mentioned. All these extra names down here are bonus entries from my Patreon subscribers. If you like this sort of content, you want to help make all these efforts just a little bit more sustainable for me, I really do appreciate it. You can find a link to my Patreon in the description below. But it is not required by any means, and if you want to support the channel without giving any of your own personal funds, you can also just like and subscribe if you think I've earned it. But let's go ahead and draw those comments and draw the winner. And the first winner is Aaron Kropf, and this is one of our Patreon subscribers, so congratulations Aaron. I'll reach out to you and let you know that you won yourself a copy of Mindbug, but let's go ahead and draw another winner. And the second winner is Adam Baldwin, which is one of our viewers, and he left the very humble comment of nice list. Thanks, Adam. Just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com and I'll get that shipped out to you as soon as I can. And that's everything I have for you this week, and I do apologize for not having a giveaway in this week's video. I will be getting more on top of that, and I will have more giveaways in the future. But it's getting late here, and I do got to edit this video tonight because I don't think there's going to be very much opportunity for me to upload it once I actually hit the road. But if you're also heading to the Level Up event, like I said, don't be shy. Feel free to reach out or just say hello if you see me passing by. I'm always happy to meet people, I'm always happy to chat, and I try to be approachable. But either way, thanks so much for tuning in and supporting the channel. I hope you found this content useful, and as always, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.